Welcome back to the Exchange Place, y'all. Hey, y'all. We exchanging.
Y'all love me here.
I know. I know that people know who I got.
They know me. They know me. Y'all
They
know me
you.
like that.
They know you. And it's season 2.
Oh my God! Wow, it's
Right?
amazing how fast things go when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, when you're doing what you love.
Yeah. God's work.
God's work. We're doing God's work.
For sure.
So we are back to Exchange. And what are we talking about tonight?
I seen a snippet and I was
seen
like,
a snippet?
Lord, don't bring my demons out
Yeah,
today.
so this season is, last season was healing, and this season is evolving.
Ooh, I like evolution.
Yeah, I like evolution.
I like evolution.
And I think, you know what I think about evolution? I think in order to even be able to evolve, it starts with self.
Oh, everything. Doesn't everything start with ourselves?
Everything starts with self, but I feel like the evolution of where you're going
always begins. You have to see you. Right?
You have to see you. You have to be able to look in the mirror and see you. So I thought we'd start with self-sabotage.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That
Queen knew that very well.
Yes. So I think if we all honest, I don't think success has anything to do with it or how beautiful you are. Because I think that there is just a place that we all have experienced this and still probably places that we still experience it.
Yeah.
And I know there's a saying that says, we are all our worst enemies.
Yeah, definitely.
Ourselves. Like we're
critics,
harder.
Right?
We're harder on ourselves than anyone could ever be.
True.
So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about the experience of what it is to begin with, and how it prevents you from really reaching certain goals that you have. And it's like, you know how they say, oh, we talk about so much about enemies and everybody hating and whatever. Yeah. But the worst enemy is the inner me.
Because I think sometimes our feelings derive from how we see ourselves and worried about how other people see us.
Yeah. So have you experienced self-sabotage?
I'm divorced, of course.
I can't with you. I can't.
Yes, absolutely. I think my self-sabotage derives from fear and lack of control.
Both of those for me.
Yeah,
Both
fear.
of those.
My experience with self-sabotage is so funny. I was having a conversation with a very close friend the other day, and we spoke about, she said, I'm so proud of how much you've grown, because she knew I struggled with self-sabotaging. And at the time I was dating someone, and it was almost like I would count the good days, anticipating the bad.
That is something that I want the listeners to think about in their own lives, because I think so often we don't think about it as self-sabotage. We think about it as, hey, I've learned this lesson, but that lesson has been something that created an injury. And that's why I self-sabotage. It was to prevent hurt.
Exactly. So if I prep myself for it, it lessens the blow. And my experience, I was dating someone, and trust me, the person wasn't the best person. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I got you.
Definitely narcissistic, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And I remember, oh my God, it would be like high highs and low lows. So when I was dating that person, and it's not just in dating that I've experienced self-sabotage, but just an example, when I was dating the person, I'm like, oh man, this day was too good. I know we're about to have a bad day. Like literally,
so you're
I would say
preparing
that.
yourself
I
for the
literally
bad
used
day.
to prepare myself, and in actuality, it was almost like I was manifesting it, and almost like I was bringing it on, because I would find myself saying things to almost
I was about to say, do you think you were doing things?
They may not have even been bothering me or doing anything, but it was like my own insecurity or my own just fear of being hurt or being disappointed by them, because they had disappointed me in the past, right? That I would almost prepare myself to be let down. I have done that also in friendships, whereas something someone has done looks like something I've experienced, and I'm like, you know what? I try to be your friend. I try to be your bestie. I think I'm gonna head out because
So wait, do you leave? Do you leave at that point?
Sometimes.
So, and I
Because
want to...
if I've already made it up in my head, and I've been working through those things to become more communicating of what it is that I'm actually feeling, whether it's right or wrong, at least just put it out there.
Yeah.
Because once I get in my head about stuff,
you in your head,
it's over for you.
What's that? There was a meme that said, once I have a conversation with me in the car
about you,
it's a wrap.
I don't like you no more.
Like you, you know what's funny? So I think I've definitely self-sabotaged. More, I think, when I was younger, as far as friendships were concerned, or relationships in that capacity. I've said this before, but I lost my sister very early.
Yeah.
And losing her, but not just losing her, it was losing her, my grandmother, and my grandfather in the matter of probably 2 years, right?
Oof, heavy.
I had this thing in my head, like, if I don't get close to you, then it doesn't hurt if you leave.
Lessen and soften the blow.
Right? So soften the blow, definitely a area of protection. But I really didn't make friends like that. Like, I really kept to myself. Back then, I had one friend.
And what age was this, would you say?
It was probably from, I would say, probably about 12.
That's a lot. That's hard for a 12-year-old to even be thinking like that. That's
but from
heavy.
12 at least until I don't think I really started making friends. Not that people didn't want to be my friend. I didn't want to be their friend.
Yeah, I get it.
And not necessarily because I didn't want to.
Fear.
It was just this fear of like, hey, if I get too close to you, you're gonna leave. And I almost had the concept
doesn't
of
really
death.
see young people die like that. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, your sister was young and passed away, and most kids just have high optimism. If you're the average kid, I can't say, because some kids absolutely go through trauma, so I don't want to take that away. But the average kid, you know, doesn't see things like that. So being exposed to death so young and so close.
It was too close,
That's really sad that you would have to experience something like that at 12 and be deducting and...
I was mean. Wow. I mean, that's the only way I could describe it. I was mean. I still think I have some of those things left over.
No, not that beautiful.
Absolutely.
I think it comes across different. I think you are...
It looks different now.
You are guarded, but I honestly look at how you deal with people wise. Like, you're more like...
So I'm more discerning.
Discerning, yeah.
I'm more discerning
and observant.
Who, and way too observant. Like, people take my being observant sometimes as like, oh, well, you're kind of standoffish, but I watch my environments. Because a lot of things that people do and a lot of things about people, if you really sit back and observe, as I call it, people watch, you can tell a lot about people without what's really coming out of their mouths, how they interact with other people. And I just learned that. That's just like a skill that I've really probably most of my life had.
That's a blessing.
But it definitely looks different. But I remember distinctly, like, there's people, I can go back into my childhood, who wanted to kind of be friends, and I was like,
oh wow,
like, you stay over there, because I was like, if I had this feeling like everybody that I got close to would die or leave in whatever, you know what I mean, in whatever place, and I do think that carried over to love, definitely carried over to love, and I still have that thing that you talked about. I have the thing of like, if somebody presents too well, I am watching you, honey child.
What's your problem?
I mean, and it's like, wow. Probably about 3 years ago, I had a close look with myself, and we talking about self-sabotage, but I had a really close look with myself, and I met a mirror of me, where I met somebody that I actually wanted to connect to. And they were giving me
They were pulling a you on you, girl.
They were giving me
They was pulling a you on you, honey.
And I was like, I shouldn't have to prove who I am.
I want to be your friend.
Yeah, and I was like, I shouldn't have to prove who I am. And then I was just like, you know what?
And that's too hard. That's hard on people.
But I realized that I think that's probably what made me kind of start to change and soften in those areas, because I was like, dang, this is what I give people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is what I'm putting other people through. You know what I mean? To even get to know me or have access to me. And though there is listeners, I'm not saying let everybody in your life. Please have relational intelligence with who should be close. But I am saying that, I feel like God blesses us through people.
Yeah. And I think the biggest lesson probably that I have learned with self-sabotaging is that just let people do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
You get, like, even if it hurts, let them do what they're going to do. Like, I think a lot of, we want to protect ourselves at all times.
We still don't protect ourselves. I just want to say
no,
that.
I have a friend who always tells me, Amber, curb your enthusiasm for people, because I just look at people and I instantly see the best in them. I don't look for the negative when I see people. That's not how I interact with people. I literally look for what's the best thing in you. And those are the things that I nail in, and sometimes I'll disregard.
Do you miss other stuff?
I miss the negative pieces of you because I don't almost psych myself to not want to see them. And I think where the self-sabotage part comes in is that I try to protect myself, even if I see it coming. Like, because even though I see the best in you, I do see bad things coming with a lot of people, right?
Gotcha.
And that's not even trying to see it. Like, I'll see it. Like, that's just like starting to pay attention.
Yeah, you paying attention.
And what I'll do is I can see that the person is headed to hurt me. I can see that they are headed to do something that's gonna really annoy me or really maybe make me look at them differently. And where the self-sabotage piece comes from, and what I'm trying to say is that allow people to go all the way through with what they're gonna do, because ultimately you get to decide whether they're gonna be here or whether they're not. So I have, and that's where I say. My self-sabotaging comes from control. I know I can be controlling in not like trying to tell people what to do. No.
I know what you mean.
Just like trying to manage situations.
Control the narrative
controlling
of what's going on.
Yes, control the narrative, control the environment. Hey, don't hurt me like this. If you're gonna hurt me like this, not like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And kind of like literally people have almost to the point like where I'll like want to ask somebody to help me do something and I won't, because like I don't want the disappointment.
That they're gonna say no?
Yes, I don't want the disappointment of that, right? So instead, let me lessen your task, because then I'll know that you at least can handle that. You can manage that. You won't let me down there, and that's where the control comes in.
Yeah, because and the communication of that, because I think
but
so
just
often.
let people do it. Just let them go.
Let them go.
Fail. Let them have consequences. Shout out to the book Boundaries, because that told me that.
I just finished that book. That book is so. Did you finish?
I didn't finish yet.
Okay.
I'm on chapter 12.
Yeah.
But sorry guys, we're readers.
We're
geeks.
Readers.
But that book.
Leaders learn.
That book actually, not that it like I had been getting there already, but it kind of confirmed what it is that I feel. Allow people to go all the way through and get to the consequence part.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because then you'll see people for who they are, what they can bear, where they go in your life without trying to assign them something first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then demote them
understand.
later. That's usually where I've messed up. So those are lessons that I've learned, and that prevents me from self-sabotaging. If somebody wants to disappoint me, let them disappoint me.
You know what I used to be? I used to be a leaver.
Oh. Queen of leaving.
But I think in that probably one of the most amazing relationships. I have been in really bad relationships previous. One of the best relationships that I was in, I had told myself a story.
Oh, wow. Okay. Based on no facts.
Based on what I thought this person's reaction was going to be. And
that's anxiety.
It definitely anxiety. But I had told myself a story, and I actually left something very good because I was afraid that I was going to lose it. And it's crazy because I had these conversations with myself thinking back, and I was probably about early 20s. But I remember the day that I left, and I never knew that the consequence would work the opposite way, because I thought I was kind of saving myself. I don't think I ever considered the other person,
gonna feel about it,
and how they felt about it. We actually ended up having a conversation later on in life about that particular thing, and I never knew the injury that I caused them. trying to protect myself from an injury that I really never
didn't even exist.
But the thing was, it wasn't easier for me to leave. It felt easier at that time because in my head I kind of felt like, well, if I stay and then they leave me, I'm going to be devastated. So at least if I can control that narrative, that somehow it was going to lessen the blow because I was controlling what was going on, which did not work, people.
Yeah,
I just
you
want
can't
to
control people.
You can't control people.
Situations.
You can't
either.
control love.
As much as you try.
You can't. Like, things are going to happen. And in order to, especially when we talk about love, and I mean, you always talk about that, is that there's a risk of getting injured.
Yeah. That's in order to love, and this is
really,
not even
love.
romantic love. In order to love, it requires vulnerability.
It does.
It requires the understanding that people are people. At the end of the day, the common denominator is human. We are all human. We do make mistakes. I make mistakes.
Everybody does.
We all make mistakes.
Everybody does.
There's been I can't. If I'm honest, I can't say I regret too much. I don't really regret. I do believe that everything that happens exactly how it is supposed to happen. However, that does not mean that I'm not supposed to learn something.
So I do think that I don't know that I have regrets in the things and places that I've self-sabotaged myself. But I do wish that I managed things different. And I wish that not only managing other people, that I managed me better. I think I caused myself more injury, and it took longer to get to certain places because I just couldn't get past certain things. And a lot of that had nothing to do with anyone else. It really had to do with me. It had to do with the critical inner talks that I would have with myself. And I want to say that to the listeners. I know that we don't always, the person that talks to you the most is you.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And the voice that you're hearing most in your head is your own. And sometimes we don't realize how hard we are on ourselves. Even now, there's times that I'm just like, I say certain things and I'm like, to myself, and I'm just like, why are you saying that? You know what I mean? And it's like...
And have you ever been in a situation... I've had people self-sabotage on me. It's so crazy because obviously
my last one I really tried to say. Again, when you see you, I want to help you not be me. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Child. And I really tried so hard to love somebody who couldn't see themselves. So I don't think they understood my love for them because they just couldn't see themselves at that period of time.
And that's really not your job.
And it's not, but it is, because so it's not my job to do that, but it is everything that we go through. And if I have something that's going to make you better to be able to see, even if it's not with me, you know what I'm saying? I want to be able to assist you in that way. I want to be able to exchange, even if that doesn't mean us, that means the next person that you don't miss, because you miss people in that. You miss people in self-sabotaging
where
yourself.
My opinion differs in that only because, like, they have to be open to see it, right? Like, you ever been around people where you could tell them you love them a million times? You could tell somebody they're beautiful a million times, and the next day you talk to them, they're like, oh, I'm so fat. I don't like this. I don't like this.
Yeah.
You have to believe it. It starts with you. That's why I say it's not my job. It is. I can say that being who I am going to affirm you. That's who I am, right? I'm going to affirm people. But I can't make you believe what I'm saying.
Oh, no.
Like, you get what I'm saying?
I don't think it's that
I don't know
part.
if you'll necessarily learn the lesson within that exchange, because you have to see you in that. Like, I've been in relationships. I've been in friendships. Like, I'll never forget, someone told me a long time ago, and I love that they said this, even though we don't have a great relationship now. But something they always said is that sometimes people will say things out of nowhere just so God could let you know what people really feel.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And it'll be like crazy. And that's where self-sabotage has happened towards me, even in friendships. Like, I've literally had people come out of nowhere. Like, I literally don't know where this comes from. And they will be like, hey, So, and it's like no consideration of my character. It's like no consideration of all the times I've been there for you. It's no consideration of, hey, Amber wouldn't really do this to me, or like, Amber's never done this to me. Let me ask her, hey, what happened, rather than accuse her of what happened, right? And everything just fall apart because you've made a decision in your head. I've done something to you after you done had to talk with yourself, and it's literally come out of nowhere, and I'm almost like
thrown back from
where you
that
get this from? Like, you
Got
get what I'm saying? So again, I can see, I felt it. I've been the giver of it, and I've been the receiver of it, and it's really a dangerous thing because, like, you have to, first of all, you have to know who you are, right? Yeah. You have to know who you are. And on top of that, if you have to consider who people are sometimes. You got to sometimes take yourself out of that and be like, look, yeah, they might annoy me or whatever, but let me see overall, do they really do things like that? Like, there are people that I've made decisions about, no, they definitely do things like that. They're definitely messy. You're definitely ridiculous. Yeah. You're definitely over the top. No, I don't need to see your circus acts anymore. But there are people that I've considered, like, you know what? Maybe they're just having a bad day. I give people grace. That is what I've learned in self-sabotaging before I even accuse other people of doing things. I extend grace and say, you know what? They're not themselves today. And even, like, say if I know that they're dealing with something personal.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'm just a punching bag for today. I can give you that level of consideration. But when people give you that type of grace, you have to give it back.
Yeah, it has to be an exchange.
It has to be obviously depending on the relationship, but people that you're close to, you love and cherish, and or whatever you value, you have to extend a level of grace and be able to communicate what it is that you're feeling. So my new thing is, I don't like to just respond. I don't like to react. I respond.
Yeah.
And that helps me without work in self-sabotaging, meaning, like, before I get into my head, let me thoroughly think this through. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? How am I feeling that? When? What? I really ask myself these questions.
You preaching to the choir. That's a whole process.
I ask myself these questions before just, that's why I don't allow people to rush me into answers, rush me into responses. If someone wants to talk to me, it's, hey, give me a minute. Let me think about it, because I don't want to react to you. Because if I react, I'm just going to say what's on my brain. And
ain't no telling what that's going to be.
Ain't no telling. But, if you give me a moment to actually process and really dig deep, and kind of see what it is that I'm feeling. Hey, am I overreacting? Am I honoring my feelings? But am I understanding that maybe you may not have seen it like that? It's worth the conversation. It's worth actually doing deductive reasoning before just jumping and reacting. And I've been better at that. I like to respond to people. I don't like to just react. And that's helped me in the self-sabotage department.
Got you. So I think in that process, right? So if somebody does something outside of their character, what is kind of not the face. But if somebody does something out of character, or you guys bump heads in some area, what's normally your approach? Is it to go, is that I'm going to process, is that articulated to the other person, or do you just take time where that gives the other person time to get in their head? Do you know what I'm saying? Because I'm a go, and I'll just explain what I mean. Yeah, I'm a go away process, especially when I'm mad. My temper is horrible. I know many people can't see that or understand that.
I got little taste before. Not really.
I was about to say not really. I think you've definitely seen. You got a glimpse of that, but I
know we love each other, guys. Yeah, but any relationship, sometimes you may just bump heads. We bumped heads before, but with respect to each other, because I think both of our responses is, hey, we had to take a day or two.
Yeah, I did. Because I would always have to process what that is.
That's me too, for sure.
I'm not at all offended by quietness
or distance,
right? Or distance. sense, because I feel like if something happens or when something happens, I need time to process. And I also want that person to process, because I want to rerun what happened in my head. I want to check myself. And I'm a big self-check person. Something will happen. I'll be like, where was I in this particular moment? Like, I want to make sure that this is not just something that's coming up because of my own triggers or my own stuff, right? Because we all got stuff. Yeah. And I'm honest about my stuff. I'll be like, ooh, that triggered me. You know what I mean? And I can say that and honestly say that. But for me, the space is okay. For other people, quiet is not a good thing. People want you to respond in that.
Okay, so before checking me, I used to be extremely passive aggressive. I was like,
in what way?
Oh, really?
You would just
rather really mess with your head, like, and yeah. And when I say that, like, yeah, definitely.
Like you're gonna get them back.
Definitely saw you call me. Definitely not answering. Definitely on social.
So you is definitely petty.
But God don't bless the petty. Don't do that to people.
Petty and passive
aggressive in a case of talk around you, kind of like if you may direct text me, but if we're in a group message, I'm gonna respond to the group message and not you personally. Things like that. Like those passive aggressive ways, not good, not healthy, guys. I'm not encouraging this at all. And
why would you do that? You just don't want to avoid. You didn't want to have the conversation. I
had avoidance issues. I still suffer with avoidance problems sometimes. Okay. Not all the time. I have definitely grown a muscle in that area, but it used to make me sick to my stomach to have to confront people I love. Like, you get what I'm saying? About disappointment. Like, I just hate strife. I hate arguments. I don't like it. I know it's a part of healthy relationships, but
I don't think anybody likes it, though.
I just wasn't comfortable. So it was just easier to avoid you.
Can I ask the question?
Now, hold on.
Okay, because I got a good question.
I know, but let me just finish this part. Okay. So, like, before, like, to answer your initial question, what I would do now, I will say, like, hey, listen, I'm not in a good space right now. I need a minute. Like, you get what I'm saying? I've also told people, hey, listen, now's not really a good time. Allow me to just think about this and get back to you. But people rush me to that, and I hate it. And once you do that, you really put me in a bad space with you, because I feel like I'm already doing my due diligence by telling you, hey, I'm here, I'm present, but I need a minute. I'm doing that instead of avoiding you. I feel like that's growth on my part. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I don't like to be rushed to talk. I don't like that. That's not fair, because I respect people's space.
Yeah.
What's your question?
So I think in the avoidance part, because I think a lot of people deal with that, and I love that you said you just don't want strife between people that you love.
Tough talks.
Right? Tough talks. We talked about that. But in those tough talks, do you think that is there fear in, like, why are you avoiding? Do you know why you were avoiding? Is it fear of losing the relationship?
It goes back to self-sabotage, the fear of disappointment, yes.
Yeah.
The fear of disappointment, the fear of, oh, they better not say this, because I don't have to go there. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
mine is different.
Because it's back to the talking in your head, like creating conflicts and like cause and effect. Like, you say this, I'm gonna say that. You say this, I'm gonna say that. No, you ain't gonna say that, because I'm gonna say this. That, you know, when you talking in your head, like, you kind of almost preparing yourself for how the conversation is gonna go. Yeah. And you know, if it goes that way, it's like, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I like, I love people that I love, and I do. And I think a lot of this really came from when I lost my mom. Because I lost somebody extremely close to me.
Gotcha.
So the self-sabotaging, just like you said, when you had loss, is like, listen, I already lost my mother. I'm not trying to lose friends. I'm not trying to lose people that I'm close to. But you know what? If that's what it got to be, let's just hurry this thing up. You go your way, I'm going to go my way.
And
let's keep it moving.
That relationship and be back on.
Yeah.
I think mine look different, especially when we talk about love. And romantic love, I'm talking about, not just friendship love. I think for me,
I got more friendship love, y'all. Sorry.
There was more fear of telling the truth and not getting what I wanted. And it prohibited me in a lot of situations, not being honest. Like, feeling a certain way and not being able to really articulate that with the thought of like, hey, I'm not going to get it. And also, this is probably going to sound crazy, but it's something I'm sure it's like, it is literally like, what if this actually works? What does that look like? And I think people go through that because, you self-sabotage, not just in relationships, but in jobs and everything.
Like, and I ain't going to be her friend no more, period. And she say something like, I love you.
I love you.
I love you too.
I love you too. Like, where do we go? Yeah, where do we go from here? Sure. And just fear of success. I know that sounds kind of strange, but I definitely...
No, that's real though.
Yeah.
Like, what if it works? Like, that's like, and that's no different. I've dated people where I'm like, why you bringing me flowers? You're being nice. Why you doing everything? Why you doing everything I said? What if you be my husband? Like, you get what I'm saying? That's real. I think that's real. Like, we do fear the positivity of a positive income, but I think a lot of that comes from trauma because we've already accustomed ourselves to disappointment.
So much.
So it's like you know how to deal with that. You don't know how to deal with the positive.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you know how to be mistreated, but you don't know how to be treated right.
Yep, that happens. I think that's natural.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying that happens
abused.
more. I'm treated very well by people that I love, and I think a lot of that
yes,
has to
you
do.
Are.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are.
Yes, Deb love me. Deb love me. All my friends and my family, they love me so much. So but that comes with my selection of people. I think I think there's a way to prevent self-sabotage when we're looking at the right people. Not to say that those people are absent of disappointing us, but people that are more on our playing field, that are more aligned with us and connected to us in the manner that we see ourselves, we will have less of that.
Yeah, I think once you know who you are, once you get more comfortable with who you are, and I always want to talk to our healing season because I feel like healing never stops. So we evolving, but I think as you continue to heal, there are places that you may have not seen in that season that you get to see in the next season, or depending on as you connect to different people on different levels that bring out or touch things you like, ooh, I didn't even know that was a little messed up there. So I think it's a continuous thing that we will, you know what I mean? We'll continue to go and find, and I'm trying to say this the correct way, find places that still need healing. Do you know what I mean?
And listen, every situation to me unlocks a new level of perseverance that I see through myself. Like this year, I had lost 2 close friendships. It's unfortunate, but every time it teaches me something about myself. Yeah. And the type of people that I choose to be close to me.
You have to get those lessons, and I think as you evolve and as we keep on growing, that the right people will come.
Yeah. It helps me see people differently, and it almost nails in the part that I knew I probably should have changed. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't regret it. I love the same relationships love that I had. Yeah, all the love that I give. The ones that I lost and the ones that I had. The ones that I'm like, it is what it is. My life still goes on, like it just does. But I definitely take those. Yeah, but I definitely take those. I definitely take heed to what happened, assess and decide how I'm gonna move forward. And I do my best not to make other people pay for the sins of others, but it definitely makes me more aware.
Yeah, I think you can be aware without holding that against the next person. Yeah, definitely. You can be aware. I don't want to say I mastered that, but I give people fair chances for those that I know possibly can have a closer connection with me, or like I feel called to, or they feel called to me. I'm definitely not like, nah, go over here. But I give you the ability, as my daddy would say, I give you enough rope to hang yourself.
Yeah, grace.
And I watch how you move in that. I watch how you manage me as I manage you. But I think that's just wisdom. That's discernment. That's you growing as a person. That you get to pick. Thank God we get to pick our our friends. We don't get to pick our family, but we get to pick our friends. And
I thank God for learning these lessons in my 30s.
Yeah, really and learning them early. I mean, at different levels. You don't want to be at this level.
Yeah, because although age is not connected to wisdom, I don't want to be in my 50s learning this kind of stuff. I'm just being honest.
Yeah. But there's some 50-year-olds that don't know this stuff.
No, and 40-year-olds.
I mean, 40, 50. Yes. I definitely don't think it's attached to age. I think it's really attached to self-awareness and just really, you know what I mean, understanding that, hey, valuable people.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this.
Got options, baby. We got options.
The thing about someone who's valuable, like my pastor always says, you know, everybody has value. Everybody doesn't bring the same value to your life. And when you understand that, when you understand, the value that you hold, they have options. They have options to jobs. They have options to people. They have options to where they will go. And you have to appreciate.
And valuable people have standards.
Yeah. Like everybody should have standards.
Yeah, they should. But the awareness of value, that's a better way to put it. Yeah. Because everybody is valuable, right? But people who know their value will definitely require a level of things that you need to honor and you need to respect. And that's anything. People I value require certain things. Amber, I want this. Like, I need this from you. And they can fluidly say this. Like, listen, you know, and they could say exactly how they feel, and it's no harm, no foul. Gotcha. You get what I'm saying? But, yeah.
Yeah. So what would you leave the listeners with? What would be your words of wisdom in self-sabotage that you've learned?
Yeah, definitely take the time to respond and not react. That would be the biggest thing, because when we start getting in our own heads, and I'm still learning this, when we start getting in our own heads, creating scenarios, creating all of these what ifs and that, you lose consciousness of the truth. Like, you get what I'm saying? And you lose consciousness of your true feelings. So take time to navigate what it is that you're feeling, but not in a way that's stick-to-itive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where you've already committed to that feeling, opposed to trying to actually understand what it is that you are even feeling. Like, ask yourself the questions: how, what, when, who, and why. And
why. Yeah. I think why is the biggest question.
Yeah, those are things I have to really, now when I face conflict with people, listen, this is what, this is why, this is how, this is when.
Yeah.
This is, you know, like,
so clarify where
like,
you
where,
are,
like,
clarity,
right? And like, hey, these are all the things that I've asked myself pertaining to this situation, and now that I've asked myself these things, hey, listen, I'm responding to what it is that I've asked myself pertaining to the situation, so you could have an understanding of where I am, and let's try to move. It doesn't mean, listen, that don't mean that's gonna heal. That don't mean we're gonna be cool, but it's an understanding.
Yeah, but I think the key thing in understanding, when you communicate like that and people know that you're listening, and listening not to respond, but listening to really understand them, I think there's a guard that goes down because people respect that. And even if y'all don't necessarily agree about whatever the issue is or whatever, you don't have to, but just knowing that I can articulate what you said and what the issue was, and have an understanding of, hey, I didn't know that made you feel that way or whatever, and be able to go back and say, hey, I'll pay more attention to that, goes a hell of a long way, opposed to, you know, not acknowledging that or not being able to understand it. What I would tell the people is learn to speak better to yourself. And that's something I'm still learning. I continue to learn to talk to me better. That's the voice that you hear the most. And sometimes we're kicking ourselves down before we even open the door to go outside for anybody else to ever say anything to us. So really start speaking to, whether that's affirmations. I got affirmations everywhere.
Yeah, I actually just told somebody that today.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I have affirmations. I have things on my phone that pop up that remind me of who I am, that speak to what I know about myself. But in certain moments, in certain places, I don't always necessarily feel that. You know what I mean? I have alerts that go off every day for that. I put it on your phone, put it on your mirror, whatever you need to do to speak that. Even before coming here, there's something that I say to myself myself every single day. That I just affirm a place in me that I know that is a difficult place in me. You know what I mean? So it's okay. And of course, you don't have to share that with everybody and what that is. But if you know what your space is, you know what that trigger is or what that trauma is, you got to start talking to it, because you're talking to it. And facing it and talking to it way more than anybody else is. Yeah. Way more than Amber's ever going to say to me in this particular area. Deb, that you go. Now I'm saying that to myself over and over. And there's more inside of you guys than you know. Absolutely. And if you're okay to explore it and get out of fear, just go for it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
And that's all.
And that's all. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for tapping in. Season 2, Evolve.
Yes, we evolving, y'all.